Hi, this is Barry Gazard from Team Nice Realty, and today, as we enter fall of 2025, I wanted to briefly talk to folks who are thinking of selling their home in this changing market, as well as potential buyers. So starting with sellers, what we have seen is a steady increase in average cumulative days on market for homes for sale in Metro Atlanta, rising from only 18 days in May 2022 to 57 days in July of 2025. So that's a 300% increase in the time it's taking to get a home under contract in just 4 years. At the same time, if we look at average home sales prices in Metro Atlanta in July 2022, we see that these are at 469,000, increasing to 479,000 in July 2023, 500,000 in July 2024, and finally to 505,000 by July of 2025. In fact, we see them peaking in June of 2024 at 521,000. Now, if we go all the way back to 2012, as we are coming out of the last housing crash, which ran from 2007 to 2011, we see that the average home sales price in Metro Atlanta in July 2012 was only $186,284. So prices have risen an astonishing 250% since then, a price rise that is actually quite unprecedented in US housing history. But now we are seeing average home sales prices starting to fall in Metro Atlanta as average days on market climbs back up and the market shifts from an absurdly strong seller's market into a more balanced and more recently into the start of a buyer's market. Yet here in Metro Atlanta, we are really lagging behind some other markets such as Florida, Texas, Colorado, Nevada, and California, which have seen a huge swing from a strong seller's market to a strong buyer's market, with prices already dropping in some of these markets by as much as 30% as inventory levels swell. But this correction is really only getting started, and prices may drop a lot more in the future. So let's talk a minute about buyer and seller markets. What do these really mean? Well, a buyer's market is simply when the number of buyers looking to buy a property are less than the number of sellers trying to sell a property. So here, the demand for properties is lower than the supply of homes available for sales, thus putting the buyers in a stronger bargaining position relative to sellers, who are ultimately forced to drop their prices until eventually supply and demand will balance or may even go the other way. How we can tell that we are in or heading into a buyer's market is if we see the average cumulative days on market increasing, as has been the case for the last 3 years in Metro Atlanta. Hence, this is a clear indication that we are in or heading into a buyer's market. Conversely, a seller's market is when the number of buyers exceeds the number of sellers or properties for sale. This will usually then drive up prices, as has been the case since 2012, when the economy and housing market started to recover from the 2027 to 2011 crash. Clearly, we have now largely exited that market. So what has this all to do with buying and selling a home in the current time? Well, once you understand the inverse relationship between average cumulative days on market and average sales price, you can basically predict with some accuracy where the market is currently heading, and right now we can confidently predict that they are on a steady downward projection. And this is likely to continue until we see an actual year-to-year decrease in average cumulative days on market. So this really isn't all that complicated, although how low prices have yet to go and how long they will continue to drop is anyone's guess. But until we see a decrease in average cumulative days on market, we can be pretty certain that prices will continue to decline. It really is that simple, folks. So, for people thinking of selling now or in the next 12 months or so, forget what prices were a year or two ago. Those prices are now in the past and are falling in all but a few very select and exclusive Atlanta neighborhoods. For most of Metro Atlanta, these are now on a downward trajectory, and further out you go, especially on the south side of Atlanta, with a few notable exceptions such as Peachtree City, the more these are falling and are likely to continue falling as inventory levels continue to pile up. So what to do as a seller? Well, firstly, understand that neither sellers nor their listing agents set prices. Final sales prices are actually set by buyers. Why is this? Well, simply because they're the ones bringing the money to closing, whether paying cash or via a mortgage. And it always takes at least one ready, willing, and able buyer to get a sale to closing. Now, in a seller's market, because there are more buyers than sellers, sellers will have much more bargaining power than buyers, and so often they will get their asking price or more. However, if they overprice their property, they will simply attract fewer buyers, whereas if they list their home at or even slightly below market value, they are very likely to attract a swarm of buyers and maybe even start a bidding war between buyers and end up getting way more than their list price. Thus, although it seems like sellers set prices in a seller's market, it is still buyers who will either accept, bid up, or even lowball sellers' asking price. Again, however, the more competitively a price a seller lists their home at, the more likely they will get their asking price or even a higher price than that. Now, in a buyer's market, competitive pricing becomes even more critical. Why is that? Well, simply because in a buyer's market, as discussed already, there are more sellers than buyers. And so sellers need to compete with each other more fiercely to attract buyers or even a buyer. So here, pricing at or even below what recent sales would suggest is market value becomes even more critical. List at too high a price and you will get few to zero buyers even looking at your home. If this happens, the best strategy for sellers is then to drop their price until they are at least getting 2 to 3 qualified showings per week, as generally it takes 10 to 15 showings to get a home under contract in Metro Atlanta. Additionally, the longer a seller takes to adjust their list price, the more stale their listing will become, as buyers will often assume there must be something wrong with the house, other than it simply being overpriced, and hence the more probable that such sellers will end up having to accept a much lower price than they would get if they were prepared to price their home more competitively from the get-go. Of course, in these scenarios, such sellers will often blame their agent, claiming that their agent ill-advised them. The truth, however, that such sellers simply did not listen to their agents or acquired selective listening, ignoring any overpriced warnings their agent gave them, and insist that their house has more value than the market is reflecting. So here are some harsh realities sellers need to face in a buyer's market with increasing average cumulative days on market. Number one, buyers don't care what you paid for your house, how much you spent on upgrades and improvements, or what you think your home is worth. They only care about getting the best deal for them, and they will critically compare the price you're asking for your house to other similar sized and aged homes in the area. That's it. In a buyer's market, if you put in more upgrades and improvements in your home than your neighbors, this will probably not translate into a higher final sales price unless you list it very competitively from the get-go and attract more buyers who may then buy into the superior appeal of your home and may then bid up the price slightly, but don't bank on it. Number 2, buyers don't care how much money you need to get out of the house, or if you have to sell it for less than you paid. Those may be concerns to you, but frankly, buyers don't give a damn about your situation. They're looking for the best deal for them, not for you. If you want to sell your home in a buyer's market, however, you simply have to accept that reality. Now, number 3, agents don't set prices. It doesn't matter what your agent thinks your house is worth or what price they agree to list your house at. They may be able to give you an idea of possible value based on recent sales, the condition of your home, etc. But in a changing market, that can be difficult, and the market changes every day as buyers and sellers enter and leave the market on a continuous basis. And the more volatile market, the more difficult it is to predict actual market value. The only thing that matters in a buyer's market is what buyers think your house is worth. Hence, if you're not getting 2 to 3 agent showings a week, you need to reduce your list price, and the sooner the better. Again, this stuff isn't a rocket science. Now, number 4, most agents are not going to get into a heated debate with sellers over pricing. It generally doesn't pay to argue with clients. So if a seller is absolutely hell-bent on listing at a certain price, as long as that price is not too crazy, most agents will take the listing, and when the showings and the buyers do not materialize, that agent will then work on trying to get that seller to reduce their asking price to match the market. Unfortunately, with extremely stubborn clients, this can be a long and tedious process, and usually the outcomes are not good for the seller and sometimes not for the agent either, who may end up not getting a sale at all. It is, however, a calculated risk, and sometimes agents will take that risk. Number 5, the longer a seller takes to adjust to the realities of the market with increasing inventory and hence decreasing prices, the less they are likely to ultimately get for their house or property. Often in a declining market, sellers will resist lowering their asking price, and when they do finally agree to a price reduction, they will already be behind the curve, and such sellers will simply be shooting themselves in the foot by being obstinate. Ultimately, they will likely end up having to accept far less for their house than they would have gotten if they had been more realistic from the get-go. Now, let's talk briefly about buyers. What should buyers do in a market where prices are declining? Should they wait for the prices to hit rock bottom, or should they jump in now and get something while we're still in a buyer's market? Well, the answer here depends on the buyer's motivation for buying and their circumstances. If they're buying an investment property, i.e. not a home for their personal residence, they should probably wait for the market to bottom out, which will be somewhere shortly after, usually 30 to 60 days, that the year-on-year inventory levels start to decrease rather than increase. Clearly for investors, where maximizing long-term return on investment, or ROI, is their primary objective, you want to buy as low as possible and eventually sell as high as possible. In this scenario, timing is critical. If, however, the buyer is looking to buy a home as their personal residence, other criteria come into play. If they're selling one house and buying another, and both homes are in the similar price range, then it really doesn't matter when they buy or sell, as long as they do so simultaneously. If, however, they are anticipating significant market decline, it may pay them to sell one home now, rent for 6 to 12 months, and then buy back into the market when prices are lower. But this strategy requires a high level of confidence in predicting the market decline and higher risk aversion by the client. If they are renting, however, and looking to move into a home they own, then as long as they are not anticipating a market crash, and provided they are planning on staying in the same home for a minimum of 3 to 5 years, then buying now can make sense. The reality is that everyone has to live somewhere, and paying down a mortgage and gradually building equity over time is usually better than paying a landlord and letting that landlord build that equity rather than you. The good news for buyers is that historically, in the long term, real estate prices have always gone up, and there is no reason to suspect that this long-term trend will not continue indefinitely. Two simple truths affecting long-term real estate value are that, number one, no one is making any more land. Hence, land is a finite resource and supply is limited. And number two, governments around the world, including the US government, are addicted to printing more and more paper money or fiat currency, which means that inflation is here to stay, probably forever, and real estate has always proven to be a great hedge against inflation. So long term, real estate is virtually guaranteed to increase in value in nominal dollar terms anyway. This is illustrated by this graph from the Federal Reserve, which tracks median home prices in the US from 1965 to 2025, a period of 60 years. Back in 1965, the median home price in the US was only $15,000, but 25 had reached $521,000, an increase of 3,500%. While these numbers have not been adjusted for inflation, the reality is that home prices in the USA have significantly outpaced inflation, which one would expect as supply of land is limited while demand just keeps on going up year after year after year. Lastly, let's look at long-term interest rates. This last graph, which also comes from the Federal Reserve, goes back to 1973, when mortgage interest rates averaged around 7.5%. This peaked during the high inflation years at around 17.5% in the early 1980s and bottomed out in late 2020 at around 2.75%. Now we are back hovering around 6 to 7% once again. So what's the relevance of this? Well, put simply, these are nominal rates, meaning before adjustment for inflation. So in 1980, inflation peaked at around 14.5%, and the nominal interest rates were at 15%. So real interest rates were really only about 0.5%, which is 15% minus the 14.5% inflation. And today, inflation is running at around 3%, and mortgage rates on a 30-year fixed is running at about 6.5%. Hence, the real interest rate is only about 3.5%. In other words, 6.5% interest rate less 3% inflation. Maybe not as good as it was back in the 1980s, but not too bad either. And if the inflation rate ever exceeds the interest rate, a buyer may have locked up a mortgage, then effectively they would have a negative real interest rate, which means in real terms, the bank is actually paying the buyer to lend money to the buyer. Crazy, but that's the maths. So what's my point here? Simply that if you're looking to buy a home now to live in and stay in for 3 to 5 years and expect inflation to climb above 3 or 4%, your real cost of borrowing money will actually go down. And of course, if interest rates go down in the future, you could always look at refinancing. So that's it for now, folks. I know this video has been on the long side, and if you've watched to the end, then congratulations. Hopefully, you now have a better understanding of the forces at work. what your best strategy will be, whether you are a buyer or seller, and where to go from here. So if you're thinking of buying or selling a house or other property in Metro Atlanta and would like a more detailed analysis of your specific situation and the best options for you, then please reach out to me and let's chat. Call or text me on 678-310-3585 or email me at barryg@teamnicherealty.com. Thanks for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.